What's going on, YouTube? Sedans of any shape and size are becoming a lot more of a rare sight these days. However, today we're standing next to one of the smallest, most affordable sedans that money can buy. This is the Kia Forte, and it's seen quite a few changes over the past few years, including a revamping of the much sportier GT model. In addition, while some manufacturers are getting rid of more affordable manual options, cough cough, Hyundai Elantra inline, Kia still provides that option for a raw driving experience. So what's changed for 2023 for this exciting little sedan? Let's go ahead and find out. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and start by talking about the exterior design for this 2023 Kia Forte. Now, in terms of the overall look of this model, you're not going to see very many changes this year, but they have changed one thing when it comes to the trim level structure. The base FE trim level has now been replaced with the LX trim level, so you're going to notice that difference this year. But breaking down what you're going to get up here in the front, let's go ahead and hop into that. So every Forte is going to have a very similar look up here in the front. You have the signature Kia Tiger nose grille. We do have some chrome accenting going through here. That being said, since we have the GT line and the sportier models, we'll add a little bit of a more aggressive look to it, and you'll notice all these little red accents going through. I'm a really big fan of the way this looks, especially here with the white paint color. It has a really nice contrast, and also for the GT line you're going to have a more aggressive lower diffuser area with some more of that red accenting. And then coming up to our headlights, as you would expect out of a more affordable model, we are going to have halogen projector headlamps. That being said, you can get full LEDs if you go for that fully loaded GT model. Now that being said though, we do have LED daytime running lights. It's the new dash design if you go for the GT line, which I'm a really big fan of. It looks really cool just like running down the road. We do also have an incandescent turn signal. That being said though, look, we have LED fog lamps, and that's going to be included on this GT line model, which that's a really nice look to it as well. Now, one of the really great things about the GT line Forte is that you're going to have a very attractive exterior design, and a lot of that has to do with this 17-inch contrasting alloy that they've thrown in as standard equipment for this trim level. It has a lot of really nice elements going through. You have the silver as well as black contrast. I'm a big fan of the way this looks. That being said, you can actually get smaller or larger wheels. The larger option is going to be for the GT model. That's going to be an 18-inch contrast alloy, and then the other two trim levels are going to have 16 and 15-inch wheels respectively. Now, moving up to the mirrors, we are going to have a gloss black finish for the mirror caps for the GT or GT line model, and GT line is also where you're going to add heating as well as blind spot monitoring as standard equipment. Now that we're at the side of the Kia Forte, let's talk about the overall length. We're looking at 182.7 inches, which is very competitive for the segment. And for the GT line, we're going to have blacked out window surrounds on this model. Now, moving around to the rear design, this is another very attractive element for the Forte. I said it in the front, and I also think it in the rear. This is one of the best looking options in the entire segment, even despite it being a few years old at this point. Now, what comprises that overall good look to it? Well, for the GT line, as well as the GT model, you're going to have a blacked out lip spoiler up top, which looks great contrasting with the white paint color. We have our new Kia logo, and then our taillights are going to be full-length LED taillights. If you go for the GT or GT line, they're going to have the nice dash design similar to what we saw in the front for the LED daytime running lights. It's a very premium look to it. And like I mentioned, the brake light itself is LED. However, you are still going to have an incandescent turn signal integrated down here, as well as an incandescent reverse light. Now, dropping down to the lower portion, we're going to have an aggressive rear diffuser for the GT models. Still no exposed exhaust outlets for the GT line. However, you can get that on the GT. Now, for an affordable vehicle, it's very important to talk about your warranty and safety systems. So we'll go ahead and start by talking about your safety system, since we have seen a 2023 change there. Now, Kia is including as standard equipment on every single Forte model forward emergency braking and pedestrian detection, auto high beam headlamps, as well as lane keeping assist. That being said, they now have changed the GT model to have standard adaptive cruise control, and now it is still optional on other trim levels, but the GT fully loaded model is now going to have that as standard equipment with their highway driving assist function. Now, as far as your warranty information is concerned, we're looking at Kia's signature warranty, which is very solid. 5-year, 60,000 miles for basic warranty, 10-year, 100,000 miles for your powertrain warranty. But guys, that wraps up the Forte on the outside. Now let's go ahead and check out the functional interior.
So heading up to this Forte, you will find a smart entry system with remote start built into the key fob, standard on the GT line and above. And then of course, just grab the handle and press the black button there to unlock the door. Now, as far as your different color and material choices inside the cabin, this does remain unchanged for 2023. So what you'll be looking at is cloth seating on your LX and LXS. When you get to the GT line or the GT trim level, that's where you'll get what we see today, which is a cloth and leatherette combo. Now, you have the choice between black with gray stitching on this model is the only option, and then the GT has red stitching instead. I really like the way this seat looks, though. You've got the color contrast piping, the leatherette on the outside edges, the cloth in the middle, but with the cool zigzag design, and you even have GT line branding. You can also option on leatherette if you prefer that. And as far as the seats, they are going to be manually adjusting unless you get that optional leather that I mentioned just a second ago. Taking a look around our cabin in terms of the materials, they're nice for a compact car. So we've got leatherette across the armrest. We have a stitched soft touch plastic through the middle, soft touch plastic along the top, piano black accents. As we go to the upper dash, again, more soft touch plastic. We do have a stitching detail. You've got a faux aluminum accent there. And then, of course, your lower elements are going to be hard touch, but we do have piano black finish here, and everything fits together extremely solid. Now to start it up, put your foot on the brake and press the button. So as far as your gauges are concerned, as you can see, you do have the analog set up with the 4.2-inch multi-function display there in the middle, and that contains all the expected information, including safety systems and fuel economy. Now as we pull back to the steering wheel, we do have a nice flat bottom steering wheel. It's actually very nice for this segment of vehicle. With the GT line, it's actually shared with the GT, so it is leather wrapped. You have the perforated leather there on the side, and like I said, the design looks very good. As far as the wheel itself, of course, manual tilt and telescoping. Heating is not going to be available. Let's go ahead and check the interior storage. So I'll turn over here to the console. It's actually pretty good size for this type of vehicle. As you can see, decently deep. There is a kind of padded felt down there at the bottom. But let's see if it'll fit the coupons. It could be a little shallow. Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Can I close the lid? Yes, I can close the lid. Barely passes. We do also have our 2 cup holders. Up there in the front, we got another large storage area. We've got 2 USBs and a 12-volt outlet. We also have another shelf right there. That would be a wireless phone charging pad on the top-end GT model. And taking a look here at the shifter, this of course is a traditional one. Just going to pull back for drive. Bump to the left if you want to shift manually through some simulated gear changes, but you won't have paddle shifters unless you go for the GT with the dual clutch transmission. Once in reverse, you'll be greeted with a standard backup camera, which does have active trajectory as well as guidelines. And then down here is something I want to talk about. We have expanded availability of the electronic parking brake in place of the old style handbrake. So this is actually optional on this GT line as well as the LXS. We've got that option, as you can see, and it is now standard on the GT with the automatic transmission. Let's go ahead and take a look at our climate controls next on this very, very hot day. As you can see, dual zone automatic climate control. This is a very nice feature to see on board, and it's going to be included as standard equipment on the GT line and above. In terms of your heated seats, those are going to be optional on the GT line as well as the GT trim levels. And you can also get ventilated seats, and that's going to be on those same models. And rising on up, we do have a audio system, of course, on board with a physical volume knob. What we have on today's example is going to be the 6-speaker sound system. You can actually option on an 8-speaker Harman Kardon premium sound system, but we're going to go ahead and take a listen to the standard version. The overall sound quality is surprisingly good. Even though this is the standard system, it does have pretty good sound quality that fills up the cabin nicely. Plus, I do like the design on the speaker grills, how it kind of integrates into the overall door trim design. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk displays. So there's two different displays, LX and LXS, 8-inch display, GT line, and the GT 10.25-inch display. That's what we have. That's what you're looking at right now, of course. And as you can see, very nice display, very large for this segment. You got the latest Kia software, good responsiveness, and you do have the built-in navigation system with the larger display. The other important thing to note is, of course, both have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay abilities, but if you have the larger display, it's going to be a wired connection, and the smaller display, wireless connection. Taking a look up top here, we do have the manual dimming mirror. And then up at the roof, we don't have anything going on up here, but optional on the GT line is a sunroof.
Alright guys, come on back here and join me in the Kia Forte's rear seat. Now, as far as the space is concerned back here, you're going to be pretty impressed because there is a lot of space, especially for an average-sized adult like myself. So you're looking at 35.7 inches of legroom, 37.5 inches of headroom, and if you're looking to compare that to something within Kia's own lineup, the Kia K5, it's really not that big of a difference between this Forte and that bigger K5 model, and it is going to be right in line with the vast majority of the competition. Now, as far as some of the features, there's not going to be a lot of them, as you would expect from a more affordable entry-level vehicle like this. No vents here in the center, no outlets. Kia is not offering any heated rear seats, but I am pleasantly surprised to see that we have a nice central armrest with 2 cup holders inside. A lot in this segment will actually eliminate this feature, and this makes it a lot more comfortable. Additionally, we do have a mat pocket in the back of the passenger seat. Then turning to your door trim, as expected, it's going to be hard touch on pretty much every aspect of it besides for your armrest portion, which is going to be a nice leatherette material, and we do have bottle storage down in the very bottom. Now, walking up to your cargo area in the Kia Forte, you will notice that we do have a pretty nice feature, and that's that Kia is including the hands-free smart opening trunk. That's, of course, if you go for models with the smart entry system on it, but that is pretty nice for this segment, and a lot don't have that feature. Now, as far as the space is concerned, you're also going to be pleasantly surprised by this. We're looking at 15.3 cubic feet of cargo capacity with the seats in place, which is very good for the segment. It's actually larger than the Honda Civic, which is something that's always hard to do. 15 cubic feet is massive for this segment. So definitely going to be enough space to put whatever you need in there. And we can also lift up the floor, and underneath it here, as you can see, there's quite a bit of storage. And it does not appear like we have a spare tire on this Forte model. I do want to point out, though, that the seats do fold 60-40 split, which is a nice touch. And you do also have a nice little grab handle here to make shutting the trunk nice and easy. Now, your passenger seat is going to be manually adjusting across the Forte lineup, which is something you expect from this segment. Now, we can also pop open the glove box, and inside the glove box we have a really good amount of space. For those of you that have been following the channel for many, many years, you probably remember when I had a 2018 Hyundai Elantra, and this is the exact same glove box size. So I can speak from personal experience, coupons fit in there fine. Now, up top, we have a nice sun visor. We have a mirror integrated inside of that. No lighting, though. We can also detach it. However, there is no extension. and there is 60 miles per hour in the 2023 Kia Forte. Now, of course, this model right here, as you've seen throughout the video, is the GT line, which basically means that you have a lot of the design elements from the full-blown GT model, except we're going to have the regular powertrain under the hood. So what that's going to be is a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. It's going to be making 147 horsepower, 132 pound-feet of torque. And as you can see there, I mean, acceleration is pretty good. It's not going to knock your socks off or anything, but I'd say it's fairly average for the segment. And of course, like I was mentioning, you can get the full-blown GT model if you want that additional power. And for those of you that follow the channel and realize that Drew's not here with me today, this is Josh. He's helping us out with some of the filming, and definitely happy to have him here. So,
yeah, thanks for having me again. So if you're wondering what's under the hood of that Forte GT that Mason just mentioned, it's going to have a more beefy 1.6 liter turbo 4-cylinder, and that's going to be putting out 201 horsepower and 195 pound-foot of torque. So definitely quite an upgrade from this if you do prefer having a more responsive drive than what we're having here today. But I would say this powertrain is actually pretty adequate and gets you where it needs to go well.
Yeah, you know, this is going to be the powertrain that most Forte owners go for, is this right here, and it's perfectly fine. It gets really good fuel economy, as we'll talk about a little later in the video, and it's definitely a good powertrain for the segment. But yeah, the 1.6 turbo, we've driven that several times, and it has a lot of applications, the Elantra inline as well. It's a very good motor, so if you're wanting that extra power, a little bit more fun on a twisty road like this, then definitely go for that GT model. There's a little bit of a rolling acceleration there. Now, you might notice that it does have some shift simulation, but it's probably not good enough to fully convince you that this is a traditional automatic, and it's not for this standard powertrain application. We're going to have a CVT. I'd say this is a pretty responsive CVT, though. Whenever you put your foot down, it definitely is very eager to rev up and get you the power that you need. So I don't really have any complaints for this CVT. That being said, Kia does offer a more traditional setup on the GT model, which is a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission.
Yeah, you can get either that 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, or if you really want that enthusiast driving experience, the Forte GT does offer a 6-speed manual transmission. A really rare offering for this segment these days. You know, I don't think the Civic offers anything like that except for the hatchback.
Yeah, hatchback and SI still have it, but the SI is going to be a lot more of a pricier option for sure than the GT model with the manual. And it's worth noting for 2023, this Hyundai Elantra inline no longer offers the manual transmission. So now if you want that and you're looking between the Forte and the Elantra, this is actually going to be your only option. Not bad at all. Now, this vehicle is going to be front-wheel drive only, which does mean that we're not going to have too many different fuel economy offerings, but we do have the 2 different powertrains to pick from. So I'll have Josh read off a few of those fuel economy figures for you.
Yeah, so the most widespread fuel economy rating that you're going to get, including for the GT line that we're in today, is going to be 29, 39, 33 combined. If you do opt for that GT model, if you have the automatic transmission, you'll get 30 miles combined, and then 26 if you opt for that GT manual transmission.
Yeah, so the manual will cost you a little bit more at the pump, it looks like, but not bad fuel economy, and also very impressive fuel economy for this model, which is pretty much the standard affair. Most of the Fortes they'll sell will be this combination right here. Now, I want to go ahead and hop into the ride quality for this Forte, because I'm sure you're probably curious about this aspect of the vehicle. Is it, you know, an affordable vehicle that has a stiff ride and really makes you feel that affordability every single day, and I'm happy to say it does not. This is a really comfortable riding vehicle. As you can see, we've gone over a few bridge abutments, and it handles it really well. The seats are also very comfortable. I have no complaints. Now, if you compare it to something like a Honda Civic, I think it's about the same. So it's not going to be like better than most in the segment, but I'd say it's just right around average. All right, guys, and it is time for us to do our slam dunk and airball with this 2023 Kia Forte. I'll start by saying the airball, which we talked, and I think it's the same one as last year as well. I really wish this car had standard LED headlamps. Being an upper end model GT line, like what we're sampling out today, to still have halogen projector headlamps is a little bit disappointing, especially considering that its main competition, the Civic, the Corolla, those all have standard LED headlamps across every single trim level. So it's just a little bit disappointing that Kia hasn't went ahead and added that feature, and it's only on the top end GT model. Now, our slam dunk today, though, is going to be the value that you get with this Forte. This is a very affordable product, even in its own segment. This is going to be quite a bit less than the Honda Civic, quite a bit less than the Corolla. So I'll have Josh read you off some of the prices for 2023, but it's still packing a very, very good value quotient for the segment.
Yeah, so for the pricing of this 23 Kia Forte, you're going to start out with that LX, which is now the base model for the Forte. It starts at $19,490. If you go up to the LXS, that's going to be at $19,990. And then the GT line that we're in today will start at $21,690. And then finally, if you opt for that GT Forte, you're going to be at $24,190. And if you do opt for the manual, that will add an additional $700. And for this equipped GT line model that we're sitting in right now, we'll flash up the options and the full pricing on the screen, but this does come in at about $24,900 today.
All right, so what do we think about this 2023 Forte overall? Well, I think it's a very solid option, especially if you're looking for a more value-oriented choice in the segment. This has a lot of value, a lot of style, and a lot of functionality. So there's really no losing when you choose this 2023 Forte. Well, guys, that wraps up our in-depth review of the 2023 Kia Forte GT line. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would certainly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. It helps us get access to a lot of cool vehicles to show you all first on the channel, so please go ahead and do that. Also follow us on TikTok and Instagram, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.